Hello, my name is Hezi, and me and my friends are going to tell you guys about the fall of Troy. Now, this takes place towards the end of the Trojan War. And so my job is to tell you guys about the main characters and the minor characters. So first, a little bit of vocabulary so we can get a good synopsis of who is who and what is what inside the actual event of the fall of Troy. So we have the protagonists, the characters who drive the action, also known as the main character. So in this case, it will be Odysseus, one of the heroes of the Trojan War and the strategist of the actual Trojan horse. Now, along with him are the other protagonists, the Greek army. Now, they were the Greek warriors who fought in the war, of course, but they were the ones that actually built the Trojan horse, which was an idea of Odysseus that literally came to life by them. Now, in contrast to the protagonists, we have the antagonists. These are the characters who oppose the protagonists and are also known as the villain characters. So, in this story, it's going to be the Trojan army, who are the enemies of the Greeks and the followers of Pallas Athena. Now, although Athena was a beloved god revered by many, in this case, she was the Trojans' god. And so, since she was now officially an enemy of the Greeks, they had to tear down her image in order for them to fully claim victory. Okay, now we're on to the minor characters. So they aren't the most important, but they still are pivotal and relevant in order for the storyline to fully kind of make sense. So first we're going to start with Achilles. He was the greatest warrior of the Greek army, but he sadly fell in battle due to Paris shooting him in his, of course, Achilles heel. Now, his armor was to be passed down to the two great heroes, Odysseus or Ajax. It fell to Odysseus, which is great, but because it didn't fall to Ajax, that's considered very much dishonorable. So because of this, he felt that he was robbed, and so he wanted to go on a whole massacre of the actual Greek army and its major key leaders. But instead, Athena sent this madness over his mind, and he actually killed cattle and herdsmen. So after he gained consciousness, he then killed himself because he was just in awe and in shock of what he actually committed. Now from this, the Greeks were just full of woe and very much distraught because now two key people of their war are now gone. So that leads us to our next minor character, Helenus, a Trojan prophet who the Greeks actually captured in order to get a prophecy. So that prophecy was to go and get the Hercules' bow and arrow, and that would ensure their victory. So that leads us to our next minor character, who is Paris. Now he is actually the slayer of Achilles, but later on he was then killed by Hercules' bow and arrow. Now this wasn't super crazy, but it is still important to know that the killer of Achilles later on died by a useful and helpful tool for the actual Greeks to win. Now, fast forward a little bit, we have Sinon, a Greek soldier who risked his life for the Greek army, acting as a runaway and harbinger of the Trojan horse. So a little context, basically, Odysseus wanted to have one Greek soldier march in with the Trojan horse and convince the Trojans in order to take it. And so Sinon spoke greatly about how Athena would definitely accept this gift from the Greek army and how they should not try to burn it. And he, of course, reasoned with them, talking about how bad the Greek army supposedly treated him. And so that's what won the Trojans on his side. Now, there was one person that was a little bit skeptical of this, and his name was Laocoon. He was a prophet that believed passionately that the Trojan horse was to be burned and destroyed. So for him, because he felt this way, Athena in turn sent snakes after him, simply because the people of Troy were so for keeping something like this that she didn't want anyone to go against her and what she stood for.
Thank you, Hezi, for the character analysis on the members of the Greek army and the Trojan army. I'm Ava England, and I will be explaining the theme and an allusion from literature on the fall of Troy. Theme is the main idea of a story teaching you a lesson, which is a story given to help you understand and applying it to life. We learned during the fall of Troy about how the Trojan army got tricked because they didn't take into consideration that the presence of a horse from their enemy was a trap. With this information, the theme we create for the fall of Troy is to be aware of your surroundings. We chose this theme because we believe if the Trojans had better awareness, the falling of Troy wouldn't happen. Our theme creates multiple lessons learned from the story, but the main 4 lessons we learn are from 2 of the Trojans' mistakes and 2 of the Greeks' successes. From the Greeks' victory, one thing we learn is to be persistent so that the little setbacks don't ruin your life. We learn this by the Greeks building a horse and how they set up a plan to sneak into Troy, causing the Greek success on their side due to the thorough planning and prepping. The other lesson we learn from the Greeks is fight for what you think is right. We learn this by the Greeks doing their utmost to enter Troy and burn down the picture of Athena. On the other hand, the Trojans' loss helps us learn to do better than them. One Trojan error that we can learn from is to be prepared so that you can expect the unexpected from your enemies. We learn this from the Trojans' eagerness in accepting the horse and failing to be prepared for ambush. The second mistake of the Trojans made that we can learn from is to listen to what you're told. We learn this because the Trojans didn't listen to Laocoon, a person who had a lot of wisdom. Not listening to them, they brought in the horse, burning their city, causing the downfall of Troy. We can apply the lessons we learn from being aware of our surroundings to modern age in multiple ways, like who we add on social media, who we surround ourselves with, good or bad, and the friends we make. But most importantly, when we go out in public, we must be aware of others and make sure we have safe exit plans in case of emergencies. We also need to be cautious when dealing with our so-called enemies. We can either end up like the Trojans with a burnt down city by not staying aware, or we can build a horse like the Greeks and stay actively aware of the situations we're in. I don't know about you, but I choose the horse. Okay, not funny. Got it. I guess I'm gonna leave the jokes for the dads. Anyways, now let's move on to our allusions. Allusions basically reference past history in literature or film without explicitly mentioning the past. The fall of Troy gets alluded to a lot in literature. One piece of literature that makes an allusion to the fall of Troy is in Hamlet by Shakespeare. Hamlet alludes to Troy in Act 2, Scene 2, saying, "When he lay couched in the ominous horse." This specific allusion symbolizes the Trojan horse. Hamlet gave a great speech about how Paris is about to be ambushed by a threatening horse, telling the audience in his soliloquy how his people must watch their back, or they too can be tricked by a gift from the enemy. This is important because the Trojan horse is the reason for Troy burning down, and newer literatures and film relates it back to how we must always be ready for when the enemy attacks. Also proven in film, like Mr. Peabody and Sherman, Peter Pan, and Popeyes, who use an illusion of the Trojan horse to get inside and complete their specific mission. I would hate to see a horse at my door. Literal crickets. Okay, I'm done with the jokes. To wrap all of this up, my friend Angela will give a summary of the fall of Troy.
Hi, my name is Angela Facundo, and I'm going to be doing the plot diagram, which is my portion of the project. Hezi and Ava already did like the characters and like all the other stuff, so yeah, I'm going to be explaining the story basically. So the first thing to be explained is the exposition, and the exposition was that Achilles defeated Prince Memnon in battle, and he was the son of the goddess of dawn, which was Eos, and as prophesied, Achilles died. So for that, I drew Achilles, which is this is supposed to be his leg, and then I drew that he got an arrow like shot into his foot. Next is the rising action, and the rising action was that Achilles' armor was supposed to be passed down to either Odysseus or to Ajax, and the other person that didn't get it was considered dishonored. And the person who ended up getting it was Ajax. So he ended up going on a cattle killing spree, and that was because Athena casted a curse on him, and that was to hide the fact that he wanted to kill other people. Like, he wanted to go on a murder spree, basically. Like an actual killing spree. Yeah, so then after he was, like, removed from Athena's curse, like, Athena's curse was no longer there, he ended up killing himself. So after that, the Greeks turned to a prophet, which was Hercules, and then they ended up going to the Palace of Athena to steal a sacred statue as an attempt to like guarantee victory, basically. So for that, I drew a Greek soldier, and then this is supposed to be his armor. It's supposed to be emphasizing his armor, so that's why I didn't really draw a face. But next is the climax, and the climax was that Odysseus came up with a plan to bring in a large number of like Greek troops into the walls of Troy, and yeah, so they did it in an enormous wooden horse, the iconic wooden horse. So for that, I did a visual. My second visual was supposed to be the Trojan horse, and in here I put little people to demonstrate that they ended up going inside. Like they were inside the horse. So yeah, this is my other visual. The next thing is the falling action, and the falling action was that the Greeks had the upper hand because the Trojans were confused that they were confused at the fact that everything was unfolding, all the events, and the Greeks ended up burning down their houses. So yeah, and then the resolution is that after all this happens, the Greek soldiers, the Greek army, ended up taking the women and children captive, and the city was just engulfed in just flames. Yeah, so that officially ended the Trojan War, which was better known as the Fall of Troy. So, oh yeah, for the falling action, I drew a house on fire, and then for the resolution, I drew a Greek man yelling at women and children. Yeah, but that is the Fall of Troy, and the 12 minutes. So brought to you by Ava, Hezi, and me, Angela.